KTU Cares, a salute to local heroes.
What kind of world do you want? Think anything. History starts now.
Always bringing great people into the studio with us. Welcome Alice Rod O'Rourke. She is president and CEO of the Diabetes Research Institute Foundation. Good morning, Alice.
Great to be with you. Thank you.
Juan Dominguez Bendala is here. He is director of the Cell Supply Program at the Diabetes Research Institute. Good morning, Juan.
Good morning.
Peter Friedfeld is here. He is the 2019 Dare to Dream honoree of the DRIF's Dreams in the City event. He also serves as the executive vice president of Clear Vision Optical, a leading family-run eyewear design and distribution company founded in 1949. Good morning, Peter.
Good morning. Happy to be here.
Great to have you here. And Susan Weiner is here. She is a co-chair of the DRIF's Dreams in the City event and was a 2016 honoree and a registered dietitian, nutritionist, and certified diabetes educator, and the owner of Susan Weiner Nutrition. Good morning, Susan.
Good morning.
It's so great to have all four of you here in the studio with me on KTU Cares. And first, we'll start off with Susan. And diabetes is a very serious disease and seems to be growing and growing. If you could, what is diabetes and how many people are affected, and are there different types?
Yes, for sure. Diabetes is reaching epidemic proportions. In 2015, at last statistical count, over 30 million people in the United States have been diagnosed with diabetes. That's 9.4% of the population. And of those people, 1.25 million have type 1 diabetes. So there's two different main types of diabetes, type 1 diabetes and type 2 diabetes. Type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune disease in which the body attacks itself. It's destroying the beta cells of the pancreas, which produce insulin. So without insulin, blood glucose levels rise to high proportions in the blood. It can't get the glucose into the cells where it would be used for energy or for storage, and that can cause major problems. So insulin is a lifeline for people with diabetes until we find a cure.
Talk to us about some of the signs and symptoms of type 1 diabetes. Maybe the symptoms are similar to other illnesses.
Yeah, so there are a number of symptoms associated with type 1 diabetes, and I have to say everyone should be aware of them, not just health professionals, but parents and the community at large as well. And this includes frequent urination in a baby that might be a heavy diaper, or frequent bedwetting, excessive thirst, unplanned and devastating weight loss, headaches, fatigue, and also if you notice a fruity odor on the breath, that's a production of ketones that happens with rising blood glucose levels. When a person begins to be nauseous and vomiting, they may be going into a very dangerous level of DKA, or diabetic ketoacidosis, which we want to avoid. So all those symptoms together should not be confused with a stomach virus or a stomach flu. They are the symptoms of type 1 diabetes, and I would really, really tell people that if you think that you have some of these symptoms, a simple prick of the finger and a blood test can show you what your blood sugar is.
Very good information this morning. Thanks so much, Susan. Tell us a little bit about the Diabetes Research Institute Foundation, Alice, if you wouldn't mind, your mission and what you're working to achieve.
Sure. The Diabetes Research Institute has a very lofty goal, and that is focused on restoring natural insulin production. The ability of the body to produce and to regulate insulin. You know, injections and devices are saving lives, and they're making life much better for people, while the great scientists at the Diabetes Research Institute are focused on finding a cure. So just a little bit more about that. They're focused on transplanting, restoring, and protecting insulin production in the body. They're focused on making these therapies safer, more effective, and more available to everyone. So the Diabetes Research Institute is physically located in the greater Miami area.
Right.
The work of the organization really takes place around the United States, and the funds that we raised are raised from generous folks all over this country and, in fact, around the world. And let me also say, the work that we're doing, the impact that we're having in doing that work is taking place all around the world as well.
Dr. Juan, let's go to you now. Can you tell us more about the research that's underway and what is your area of research?
Sure. Well, Susan mentioned before, type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune disease. That means that the immune system makes a mistake, starts killing the cells that make insulin, and therefore you need to replace them. But at the root of the problem is that you have an underlying autoimmune process. Your immune system needs to be restored. It's not only simply a matter of putting new cells, otherwise they will be destroyed again. So at the DRI, we are heavily focused on the two aspects of the disease, correcting the autoimmunity and then replenishing the beta cell mass. Just in the first of the two fronts that I mentioned, we just got approval recently from the FDA to conduct 2 large clinical trials looking precisely at the possibility of restoring or resetting the immune system to the point it was before the onset of the disease. And that's important. We don't want just to immune suppress. The immune system is there for a reason. It protects us from infections, from cancer. You don't want just to bring it down. You want to restore the balance that was there before the onset of the disease. So we are very hopeful that that may actually improve dramatically the course of the disease. But at the end of the day, even if you are successful, you need to bring back the cells that were lost as a result of the attack. They don't just grow back. So that's where my area of research falls in. Basically, for the past 5 years or so, in addition to the transplantation work for which we are known, we have discovered stem cells within the pancreas of the patients. And we think that it is potentially possible to reawaken these cells through pharmacological means. In other words, you take a drug and potentially you regenerate those beta cells that make insulin in your pancreas. We have tested the approach in mice. We published a paper last year showing that we can fish out these cells from human donors. We can expose them to a growth factor, and the cells proliferate and create new beta cells. And again, we tested it in a live animal model, diabetic mice. We injected this chemical, this growth factor that you and I have in our blood. It's made in the kidneys. And new beta cells grow, and the sugar levels of the mice dropped to near normal levels. And when we look at the pancreas of these animals, we saw countless of new beta cells sprouting from the very regions that we had identified as niches of stem cells. So we are very, very excited about this. The work that we are doing right now aims at doing all the boring, if you will, preclinical work that will lead to convincing the FDA that this is safe and efficacious for a therapy. And when we go to the clinic, we will do this in combination with the immune therapies that I mentioned before. Because if I replenish the beta cells, but I don't do anything about the immune system, we are back to square one.
And there's plenty of information out there. Where should they go?
They should go to drif.org.
Peter, you are the 2019 Dare to Dream honoree of the DRIF's Dreams in the City event. And the story with you that I'm gathering is you were originally misdiagnosed with type 2 diabetes, but you have type 1 diabetes. Tell us a little bit about what it's like to live with type 1 and what would a cure mean to someone like you?
Sure. So I think 2 interesting things. One is that I was misdiagnosed as type 2, which set me up for my first 2 years of really battling a disease that I didn't have or a condition that I didn't have. And realizing when I was type 1, not understanding how my life would be turned upside down. So I would say that everything I do in life today, from waking up to going to bed, and including those overnight hours, is infected or is impacted by my type 1 disease. Everything from exercise and how I eat and when I eat and how stress affects my life and my ability to work and my ability to interact with other people.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Everything I do is affected by this disease. I live with alarms. I live with injections of insulin. For me, it's 5 times a day, every day.
Mm-hmm.
So completely changed the way I view things. And with that being said, I'm still me. I'm still Peter.
Uh-huh.
I still enjoy life. I love everything that I do, and I'm moving forward.
Susan, until we do have a cure, managing diabetes is really important. As a certified diabetes educator, talk to us a little bit of how you help patients with their diabetes.
Yes, and it's so important to meet people where they are when they have diabetes. And listening to Peter talk, a certified diabetes educator, which is a person from a variety of professional backgrounds. I'm a registered dietitian. It could also be a medical doctor or a pharmacist or an RN. And we have extensive experience in diabetes education, clinical background, and in diabetes management. Even before you sit for the exam to become a CDE, you need to have at least least 2 years of background in your profession and 1,000 hours of diabetes education completed. So all that being said, what we do as CDEs is we take this clinical knowledge that we have and we work to empower the people that we work with on their terms to reach their individual goals towards self-management in the hopes that they reduce risks of complications and, of course, improve their health outcomes. And as a CDE, I want to say we do this in a non-judgmental way. We don't judge people. We help them where they are. We work on different aspects of lifestyle. We work on nutrition and exercise, coping skills, mental health issues, as well as medication management, for example. So there's a whole host of things that we do. And I recommend that for people who have never reached out to a certified diabetes educator, it's really life-changing for people who do have diabetes.
If I can just piggyback on that, I would say I did reach out early on to a CDE, and I've worked with several in the past 5 years, and that has completely changed how I approach my condition. Understanding that I need to take responsibility for the management, ultimately, of myself and my disease, how to improve my life, and insulin, which I mentioned I take 5 times a day, is just gets me through that day. Right? It's a life-sustaining drug, but managing that insulin, taking the shot is the easiest thing I do. Managing my life is what I learned by working with my CDE.
Excellent, Peter. Let's talk about a really great event that's coming up real soon. Dreams in the City is coming up. Susan, tell us a little bit about this terrific event and more information and details, if you could, and even take us through the evening and what guests can experience.
Of course. We're super excited because Dreams is now in its 14th year. We are expecting over 400 people to this incredible event that's going to start at 6:30 at Cipriani's, which is gorgeous.
Yes,
25 Broadway in Manhattan. And tickets are still available. If you want to get a ticket online, you can go to diabetesresearch.org/dreamsinthecitygala.
Okay.
And it's going to be a really spectacular event. We're going to enjoy an amazing cocktail hour, a seated gourmet dinner, dancing, a dessert reception, a mission-based live auction, luxury silent auction items, and I have to tell you, they're fabulous this year. We have amazing travel packages, sports packages, Broadway show packages, and a lot of experiences, including one with a chef that I might bid on. It's a souffle making class, so I'm really excited about that. There's also going to be Dreams Goes Live Broadway performance with Broadway performers and beyond who are going to be there. That's a surprise, so you have to come to the event to see who shows up.
Oh, that's great. Let's go to Peter now, and you are this year's Dare to Dream honoree. How did that come about, and why is it so meaningful for you, Peter?
Well, Susan called me, and she told me that asked me to be this year's honoree, and I was actually floored. It really came out of left field for me. So I guess the how, we might have to ask Susan what went on in that room. But I would say that it's important for me, and it's helping me find my voice in this community, that I realize that so many people do not understand what it's like to live with type 1 and how someone approaches someone with type 1 can affect a lot of things that they do. So the education component of this, reaching out to people and helping them understand what type 1 is, and reaching out to my type 1 community and helping bring us together, I think is very important for me.
Alice, let's move to you now and talk about the event that receives so much significant financial support from a number of people and businesses. How does that money get raised, and how much are you looking to bring in that evening?
Well, we're confident that we're going to raise at least $500,000 at this event, and that's $500,000 towards Research for Cure. That's we know that we'll get that support because there's incredible trust in the Diabetes Research Institute that they've made progress and that they're going to continue until this disease is cured. So that support comes from corporations, from individuals, who really look at this event. As Peter said, it's an opportunity for community. It's about information. It's about inspiration, and it's about believing that a cure is coming our way soon.
That is amazing. That's amazing. And again, we want to get a couple of websites down. One for the event that's taking place on May 2nd, Dreams in the City, and also any more information about the Diabetes Research Institute.
The event website is diabetesresearch.org/Dreams in the City Gala.
And the Diabetes Research Institute Foundation can be reached at drif.org.
And Alice, staying with you, how does this financial support ultimately help the Diabetes Research Institute Foundation?
Funds raised will go down to the Diabetes Research Institute to support its work. It will be used to extend the impact of these incredibly innovative and dedicated scientists beyond the four walls of that beautiful building on the University of Miami campus to other researchers all around the world. So it has an extraordinary impact.
And throughout the year, there's many events happening in the New York area and South Florida and around the country. Plus, many people create their own fundraising events and send those donations to the DRI Foundation. Events range from bowling in Melville, Long Island, to a concert in Connecticut, to Texas Hold'em poker tournaments, to golfing at Winged Foot, to the Empire Ball, which is the largest real estate and construction industry event in the tri-state area, held at the Grand Hyatt Hotel on November 11th. And where can they go for more information about May 2nd?
They would go to diabetesresearch.org/Dreams in the City Gala.
And
drif.org.